Hey, welcome everybody to the Sunday Show, which is the show with a crappy name because I couldn't think of anything better. And it is Monday. Yes, I know I'm a day late. I'm pulling a JD Kane. You know how he has Talking Shit Tuesday on Wednesdays sometimes, so I'm doing the same thing. Sorry for the hassles. Been a lot going on here with my roommate situation. Um, been the courts back and forth, and the sheriff's going to be come back out today, and she's just writing notes saying he's taken over the shower and that he's the king of the empire, and he's just gone full 5150. So we're gonna have to deal with that in probably an hour and a half. So I don't know how long I'm gonna be able to do this, but it's been this weird thing today. But anyways, you guys don't care about that, I know. What we're gonna be doing today is I'm gonna be talking about trolls and polls, which is directly related to the Great Debate community. And by the way, if you're in the live feed, please let me know if you can hear me. I've been having obviously technical problems last show. Hopefully, I've resolved that. I'm doing something different this time, and it should be okay. So I'm looking at the live feed now, and let's see what they say. Make sure they can hear me. And I also got Barney here. I got Wolf, and I got Uriah Christian. I get one more person in here. I'm only running a 5-man hangout, logistics reasons. But let's just kind of dive into it. So we've been running a lot of polls lately in the Great Debate community. One of the reasons I do them is just for kind of feedback. I find them to be a little bit informative. Um, and there's reasons why we have polls. I think people like to be entertained by them and kind of get your feedback on things. So what I want to do is kind of give you guys the results of some of these polls and then talk about trolls because we've all had instances of trolling in the Great Debate community and how to handle it. And then specific people like Hell, whatever the hell his name is, was supposed to join us today. He decided he would chicken out, but he wanted to confront me on my agnosticism and a few other things. And I said, sure, absolutely. Monday at 2 o'clock, let's do it. He said, fine. And then yesterday he said, no, he changed his mind. He doesn't want to do it. Okay, fine, whatever. So, Ryer and Barney and Wolf, you guys want to say hi real quick? And we'll get right into this in case the sheriff's coming over.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
Well, you sound enthused. Oh, that was just an enthusiastic what's up.
Hello.
Okay. Let me dive right into this. I'm going to go screenshot the Great Debate community and move this over here and move this around here. We're just going to look at some of these polls and kind of go from there. So let me transition. Oh, okay, that phrasing on that was probably not good phrasing. I'm not transitioning, Wolf. Sorry. Oh, Barney, you're getting feedback.
Oops, sorry.
Okay, so let's look at the first poll and
Wait.
kind of run across here. Dun dun dun. Okay, first poll is by MP. MP has asked, "What is the agnostic position? Theist, I believe in God. I believe God exists. Atheist, I believe God does not exist. Agnostic, I believe atheist or theist. Oh, I don't believe atheist or theist. Is agnostic position the ultimate lack theist?" I didn't vote on this one, as you can tell. Can the outside chat see that pretty well? The reason I didn't vote on this was I just didn't relate to the question very well because a lactheist is pejorative. A lactheist is a person who has actually the hard atheist position, but espouses the soft atheist position, usually to avoid a burden of justification. So I don't know how to really take that. And I think MP probably means this as that an agnostic would not take a theist position and not take an atheist position. So they lack a theist position, they lack an atheist position. I get that. So if anything, I'd probably pick the bottom one. What do you guys think? Should I just vote on the bottom one? I'll take the question for what it's worth. Anybody? No.
Well, I took it as a malformed question.
It kind of is, but I mean, I like to give the principle of charity a little bit. I like to give the benefit of the doubt. If I can answer, I try. I mean, there's 17 votes, so I'm just gonna pick this one for right now. What the heck? Okay, so let's.
Yeah.
What do
I
you guys
actually,
vote?
I didn't vote. It's hard for me to vote on a definition because of the different contexts on which things can be used.
Right, and I agree with you on that. I don't think I'm voting on the definition. I think I'm kind of voting the concept on this one, because an agnostic would lack theism, lack atheism. I don't like the way it's worded, but I'm gonna just be a little charitable on this one. Now, I thought this was kind of odd that people actually voted like either one of these. This, and we're going to actually call people out if we. Okay, so look at. I do not believe God exists. Pew Review, Calzer, Charles, and John said that they think it means that they think the agnostic position means I do not believe God exists. And who said I do not believe God exists? Oh, excuse me. Let's see here. Yeah, I do not believe gods do not exist was somewhat confused in Jim Brown. How would they have voted for the middle one, do you think? I don't know where that would have came from, do you?
Like what, for agnosticism?
Yeah.
I mean, agnosticism just means you're unsure. You're skeptical about whether or not it actually exists, about whether God actually exists or not.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I make it really simple. I just like the agnostic position is the one that suspends judgment on the proposition because atheism is generally defined in terms of theism, which is a propositional thing, right? Some God exists, or at least one God exists.
Right. At least that's the way Huxley like coined the term. You know.
He coined it for that very reason. He didn't think that the agnostic, or simply the atheist or the theist, either had warrant. Now, I'm not a Huxleyan, so I don't go that far. I mean, if Hannah Zuby wants to come in here, she's a Huxleyan agnostic. She can defend that position. I don't support the Huxleyan position. I'm not against it, of course, but I don't think I could actually support it myself.
So. You're more the apathetic agnostic type.
Yeah, I'm apathetic for a reason, though. When I say that I'm an apatheistic agnostic, I mean when I'm online. I don't think we're ever going to get down to the ontological existence of God or not. I don't think we can actually say God exists, God does not exist. I think that's kind of irrelevant because no one knows. And so I like the arguments. I like people arguing whether one way or another if he exists or not. And if you don't think he exists, why not? And or if you do exist, he does. Why do you think he does? What's the reasons for your belief? I'm more interested in that, right? Does that make sense?
Sure, right.
Yep. Hey, minute. Okay, so let's go.
So
oh, go ahead. Yeah, Barney, please.
I refuse to answer that poll. I found it too poorly formed to be answerable about agnostics. My own experience of being agnostic before I committed to being atheist was I don't know. Fuck off. It was not a position. It was not a position in a debate. It was not, I'm going to convince you that you should be agnostic as well. It was not, I know something that I'm going to tell you. It's, I do not have yet the capacity to decide based on the information that's being offered to me from all sides.
Yeah. I don't know who's calling me. Hang on one second. Let me see something real quick. Who's calling me? I have no idea who this was. Stop calling me, people. Okay, so yeah, I agree with you that it is a malformed question, but I'm gonna work with it. I don't know what MP's little deal is. I mean, we was talking to him the other day, and he seemed to actually understand this. He actually said, "You know what? I finally get it. Ozzy's right. You're right. Let's move on from it." I'm like, "Okay, cool. You know, I'm cool with that." And if he didn't, that's fine too. I mean, MP's been like the lone holdout. He's kind of like the Alan Fiducia of agnosticism. You know what I'm saying? He's like, you know who that is? The guy that doesn't believe that birds evolved from dinosaurs. He's a bandit, they call it. Birds are not dinosaurs position. He's like the one of the lone holdouts. That's how I kind of remind me of MP. But I mean, he tries. So.
Well, I mean, yesterday I explained to him that the way you explained it, calling yourself an agnostic atheist is like saying you're a single bachelor. He did find it redundant too. So.
Yeah, well, no, okay, there's a difference. One's a redundancy, the other one's a contradiction, right? Redundant. The reason agnostic atheism is redundant in terms of hard atheism is because atheism itself is only a belief claim, right? Or we use the word agnostic, right? It just means that I making a belief claim that I can't answer the question. Excuse me.
Yeah, I should have gone that way. Didn't really remember what you said, so I just did it that way. He seemed to get it. I explained it the best I could remember.
Agnosticism means I can't answer the question, right? So real simple. Hard atheism is a belief position, and so to try to modify it with the word agnostic doesn't change anything, because it's not giving any more or less context to the question or to the position. I'm sorry. Now, soft atheism, we've already determined. I think by now most people recognize that soft atheism, you can't really say you're agnostic atheism at that point, because that's kind of nonsensical. Because you're not taking a position. You're not saying anything. You're not saying I believe this, but I don't know this. You're not even saying that. You don't have a knowledge claim. You don't have a belief claim. You have nothing. So how do you modify something that's not even in position to begin with, right? So that's why if you say you're agnostic atheist and then you go on to say, but I'm only lacking a belief, I find that to be completely nonsensical. I mean, Uriah, you want to jump in on that one real quick? I mean, I think you agree with me on that one.
Yeah, I mean, if you're using the term agnostic to the belief, saying that you don't have the for the belief, right? But you also lack in a belief. What are you justifying?
Yeah, no
for the
idea.
agnostic portion. What is the agnostic doing?
That's what I'm asking.
He keeps breaking up for me.
Yeah, he's breaking up for me too a little bit.
Sorry, I'm probably not close enough to my mic on my tablet.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, so I'm saying, what is the if agnostic is being used as a modifier to say that you don't have justification for a belief, right?
There we go, finally.
What the hell is that?
I have no idea.
Wow. Okay, but anyway, if you're modifying to say that you don't have a justification for a belief, but then you also say you lack the belief, what belief are you not justifying? It's not making sense.
And that's why I call it nonsensical. And for those who haven't watched it, you can go to Ozzy's channel. He has made a video on this, and part in the video it's Matt Dillahunty talking to Anthony. I can never pronounce his last name. Matt Magnabosco. I have to think about it. Yeah, Anthony Magnabosco. Magnabosco, the guy that does the street epistemology. He's actually telling him that he thinks now that agnostic atheism in the soft sense is nonsensical. Now again, it's quite fine with the hard. It's to me it's superfluous. It's just redundant, but it's not nonsensical. So people saying my mic's crapping out. No, that wasn't my mic. That was actually Uriah's for some reason. He's on a tablet. Well, they're still saying I'm quiet. Is it better now? My mic. I have full green on my mic, so it should be good to go. So let me ask the live feed. Is my mic better now? Because I don't think that was my mic. I think that was somebody else's in here. Can you hear me, live chat? See, the thing with the streaming is that it has like a 45-second delay. So
It was me. I was having software trouble. I should be better now.
oh,
It was me. I had a glitch with Hangout where it kept opening my browser instead of going to Hangout. So I ended up having to delete Chrome and do all kinds of crap. And I forgot my mic amp was still on when I came in, and I was trying to rush to get it to turn off.
Oh, okay. They still say they're barely hearing me. I don't see why. My mic has full bars. Your mic volume has dropped from 5 minutes ago. Wow, I don't know why it is. My mic seems fine.
And your audio is okay as far as the inside the Hangout.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what's going on. It just says I'm low, but what I can do is I can add a filter and boost it up a little bit. Why I'm doing that, MP, do you want to add anything to your poll there? Do you want to like justify your poll? Because everybody's saying it's kind of malformed, and I kind of gotta agree with them a little bit, but.
Oh, for the poll, yeah, the poll I put up was just. It's funny because I literally took the words that Ozzy had when we and Ozzy were having a conversation. I think even you were there that time when we were talking about epistemology, and I took the question and I literally like wrote it down and then pasted it up, and then took the Ozzy's responses, like A and B, and then put those into the poll, and then just the third part was all above, like this, like atheist. So I was trying to, the reason for the poll was I was trying to see if everyone had the same understanding of the positions held if you said you were an agnostic, and whether it was true that they were lack-theist or not lack-theist. Just to force some discussion. So when people were like, you don't understand, it almost was making me laugh, because I was like, well, this is how Ozzy described
No,
the
no.
position,
I mean,
and I was
the
just
position-wise,
parroting
you're
what he
fine.
said, and now people are calling me dumb for parroting what he said.
No,
So
no.
it's
What
just
your
like, all right,
positions are fine. I know. I'm reading contextually. That's why I answered it. How you mean it? You mean as the all of the above. You're saying that the agnostic lacks a theist position, lacks an atheist position. They don't hold a theism. They don't hold atheism. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that
yeah.
was
I
the
get
way
that.
Ozzy had
So
explained it to me. So I was just
sure.
trying to see if everyone else had that same, have we all had the same understanding? And then even if you read further, it seems like people were all over the place. So I was just like, all right, well, this may have been just a bad way to write it out.
Okay. So are you happy with the results?
I am happy with the results because, like I was putting in the chats, I like at first I was saying that you didn't know what you were talking about, and I think Ozzy was mistaken. But now, after speaking with Ozzy and you, I understand where I was wrong, and I was wrong in trying to, because I came in and I try not to do this for myself, but the reason why I believe I was wrong is because I was arguing from a position that I really didn't understand fully, but I felt I did understand it peripherally. And then when Ozzy went through every point that I was trying to make, he did admit that I was right in some points, but then we came to an understanding that the position that he was explaining was logically valid and was the position that was held that was there earlier. And I was like, that just makes sense. And then when we went through the logical progression of it, I said, okay, I was obviously wrong. This is not an illogical position. It is logical, and I think it's a better position to describe atheism. But I think that, and then he agreed with me also that this seems to be a transition in both the philosophical view, the academic view, and even the colloquial view. But you guys were correct that the definition of atheism is what you guys have been proposing, and that now it's starting to change.
Well, we wouldn't lie to you. I mean, this has obviously been an ongoing thing for a very long time. I think the thing to take away is that there are not many people now that don't understand that in philosophy or in academics, atheism is a belief position. It is a positive assertion. It is somebody saying that they believe that ontologically there's no gods in the universe, or that theism is false. There's many different ways you can describe it, whether propositionally or psychologically. But in philosophy, atheism is a positive belief position. Now, you don't have to accept that. That's never been the argument, right? Ozzy and I have never said you have to accept this definition, and if you're going to be an atheist, you've got to assert that God doesn't exist. No, never been anything like that, right?
Oh, of course not. No, no,
Right.
no, no,
Okay.
no. What I was pushing against some of the justifications for it, but one of the points that actually convinced me that this was wrong is when I started reading the list of sources that people were putting out, and in most of the sources, everyone said exactly what you said. Atheism is defined, but then some of the sources actually made the atheist distinction, which even Ozzy had to admit was peculiar, but that is indicative of the word actually being changed within the language. So you guys were definitely right at 100% of what atheism is, but when it turns to atheist, there seems to be this split occurring within the academic community that's starting to give it a more broader definition. And some of the academics are even saying they're pushing back against it. So, I just had to educate myself on what I was trying to argue for and why my argument, if it was reasonable or not.
No, absolutely. And by the way, I don't know if I differ on Ozzy on this, but I have no problem with the atheistic concepts. I can very well say, look, I'm an agnostic on the whole God claim, but I am atheistic toward certain local gods, like the God of the young Earth creationist. I'm atheistic toward. I assert that God does not exist. And the reason I do that, right, because I can justify it by saying, look, if you assert that the earth is 7,000 years old and your God is that God that created it that way, and that's a necessary condition for that God, and that condition is not met because the earth is not 7,000 years old, that God cannot exist then. Do you follow that reasoning? So I say I'm atheistic toward the young earth creationist God.
Yeah, no,
Okay, okay.
I agree 100%. I think you can be, and that's one thing that we were discussing too. How every God concept, it's not as a one for all. For different God concepts, you have different positions. Some I'm agnostic toward, some I'm atheistic toward, and I do feel that that's a better way to describe the positions that I hold. For, let's say, the young earth creationist God, I'm atheistic toward that God, but let's say for a deistic God, I'm more agnostic to that God. So I do agree. I do hold the same
Awesome.
position.
Yeah, no, and some gods are to me are very difficult to find arguments against, and I'll put it out there right now. You don't have to, we won't discuss it, but if you have an argument against aesthetic deity, I would like to hear it. I'm not saying that I have one for it or whatever, but an aesthetic deity to me is very hard to justify to say that you don't believe that it exists. And for those who don't know what an aesthetic deity is, it's just a god that created the universe because he thought it was beautiful. He'd be like a painter painting something, you know. That's it. It doesn't have to have anything to do with us. Does no salvation thing or anything like that. It's just basically he thought the universe is beautiful. What's your justification for not believing in that kind of deity? So that's a hard one for me. The other ones are, I at least have arguments that I can at least talk about: divine hiddenness or problem of evil, low probability, or what was it called? Low priors argument, and a few other ones. But all right, so let's go to the next one if we can. Let me see the next poll. This was Sean Cahill. If someone doc drops you, is it okay to doc drop them? Okay, 7% said yes, 93% said no. So let's look at the people that said yes. I don't know who it is because I looked. Ruhif and Bob. So we already know that Bob and Ruhif are vindictive son of a bitches, right? So let's just get that out in the open. I'm just
I
kidding.
don't even know. Who?
Who?
A tooth for a tooth, a dox for a dox.
Now, I voted obviously no on this. I don't feel it's appropriate to dox at any time, and I don't think that should be a good revenge move. However, I understand people get to a point where there's like, screw it, right?
Yeah.
You know, you do me
You
bad,
just
I'm going
dropped
to do you
out.
bad. I get that, right? I'm not one to say turn the other cheek if that's not your style.
You dropped out for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, you
Can you hear me now?
I don't feel, and then, yeah, now, yeah.
So how'd you guys vote on this and why?
I didn't vote. I didn't know there
I didn't-
was.
I didn't know there was either, but I mean, you know me, I would have voted yes.
Yeah, okay, well, I mean, like I said, I'm not judging anybody on this particular one. I'm just curious, right?
That's a clear no on my end.
I think it's no
What
to
was the
me
question
too. I
again?
think it's clear no to me. The question is,
If somebody doxes you, is it okay to dox them back?
Steve, do you think you voted no
Oh, no.
because you doxed yourself already, so you're kind of outside of that?
no,
You know?
no, not at all. I think this is a pure objectively. I'm looking at it objectively and saying, look at if somebody docks you, does that give you a right to dock them back? I'm all for this. Hey, screw me, I'll screw you back kind of thing. But I think that you come off petty. I think that if you take the high ground, it's going to be more beneficial to you on that particular thing. Anybody else?
Well,
If it happens
well,
twice,
there-
then you can dock them. No.
Yeah, yeah.
no, they-
Well,
there-
I
there's
don't
a
know how they
point.
dox you twice, but yeah.
No, I mean, there is a point to that where, where you come out the bigger man or woman or whatever. You know what I mean? So if they dox you, you're like, whatever. He doxed me. What am I gonna do? Dox him and get on his level? Fuck that.
Riff writes, I would do it in a heartbeat. Not sure, or unsure why I'm in the extreme minority because you're a dick, Ruhif. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I mean, the only reason I started watching AIU's channel was his notorious doxing. I mean, that was what really drew me to him.
Oh, that was a shit show back then, wasn't it? Gosh,
It was.
I was never a fan of AIU, but man, his doxing was just epic. He really put some work into that, didn't he?
Yeah,
Well,
he did.
no, he actually had a friend who did that for him. There was a stream where he was talking to this big hacker guy. Oh, I can get all this stuff for you, and he's all happy and shit. Yay, I get a hacker buddy or something.
I don't know why
I don't know
hacker
whether
would
he
waste
deleted
his
that
time.
stream, but
All right, let's go to this one here. This was actually one of mine. Most people understand what is meant by God enough to have a general discussion about the God topic. This question was basically my way of asking. Look, if two people get together and say, one person says, do you believe in God? That other person pretty much has at least a concept they can work with to say yes or no, or I don't know. Very few times do we have a conversation where somebody says, what is your stance on the position of God? And somebody says, what is God? Because to me, that kind of gets down to the what is chair, what is lamp, right? I get people want to have definitions. They want to have be on the same level when having a discussion. I understand that. But my comment was to Carrie originally that I think most people have a general conception of what is meant by God, right? At least to the point where they can have a conversation. Because every time you go into a conversation, if you have to sit there and spend hours and hours and hours kind of putting the parameters on what you're talking about for God, I think that weighs down the conversation. I find nothing productive of it. I think in 2,000 years, the people have came to some social compact with each other that look at least we can agree this maybe like the creator of the universe, something like that, the creator of the foundations of the natural laws, something along those lines, whatever you want to believe it is. I mean, I'm not saying that the two people are going to have the same concept, of course not, but I think that they have enough working knowledge that they don't have to be bogged down by myopic nuance of what they mean by God. Now, this was a pretty almost an even one. I mean, obviously the people that said most people know what is meant by God is a little bit ahead. It's not a decisive, unless you're doing polls like this was a political poll. This would be decisive. But I'm kind of curious. The people that said most people don't know what God means. I'm kind of curious why they voted that way. Did anybody vote that way in here? Barney, you voted. You think that most people know what is meant by God, and Rye, you did too. So you want to say anything about that?
I voted that most people know what is meant by God.
And why do you think that?
Because it's a general purpose term which is commonly used in everyday parlance. There might be a different understanding that I'm unfamiliar with, but that will come up in a conversation, and the person will then have to explain how he differs from the colloquial usage of God.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a
Right.
perfect explanation. I think that's fantastic. Did you comment that? Because that's just perfect to me. I think you're right. We don't sit there and say what is chair, what is lamp every conversation, right? Why should God be any different? I think people do it to just weigh down the conversation.
You can do it as a mental exercise. Like, okay, after 35 years of using this term on a more or less daily basis, if I try to redefine it from what I know now, will that still be the same definition? But yeah, that's not something you will do in everyday conversation. That's not something you will expect others to do.
I think
Right?
that's fine. I have no issue with that. Yeah, literally. All right, so obviously Kerry said that he doesn't think that people know what God means. Nicola did too. I'm kind of surprised about that. I'm gonna have to ask Nicola about that if he's in the live chat, why he thinks that most people don't know what God means, and then a couple other people, not a lot. Kaiser, you answered. Matter of fact, I was talking to you about this. You think that it's something that most people don't know, right? I mean, you're under
I
the
wouldn't
most people
say
don't know.
no. It's just it. When I answer no because the concept of God seems to be just so different. Like how many a lot of, with the monotheist camp, a lot of well, God has to have created a universe. But in other cases, most gods really weren't universe creators. And I mean, when you get to that kind of those kinds of differences, I don't know. I just seem kind of wondering if that's, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get you. I
Maybe
mean,
I'm
not,
just,
not all gods are creator gods, right? There are gods of aspects of nature. And if anybody's ever read like the
yeah.
Incarnations of Immortality series by Piers Anthony, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Thanatos and Kronos and War. These are all incarnations that different gods take dominion of, right? So I'm okay with that concept as well. And if people say, "Well, I'm a pantheist," like when I'm talking to Ocean and I say the word God, he still knows what I'm talking about, though, right? He may believe in multiple gods. He's a polytheist, but he's not going to sit there and go, "What do you mean by God?" It's just
No. I really am starting to understand. When you say it that way, I really do understand it. But I think what this is the part of my mind that does programming. I think this is the whole factor about putting things in nice little categories. And that's one of those things where it just doesn't, I can't mentally just project it very well.
Do you think you
And,
just overthink the question?
I do. It's like things for me are much easier. It's ironic, but like simple things will go straight over my head, but complex things I'll be okay with.
See, I thought it was pretty simple. In fact,
Did you try to answer the
What's that for?
Did you try to answer the question? Can we understand God?
Oh, that's a whole
Instead
different
of
question.
do we know what God is?
That's a whole different question.
No,
right?
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
No, I didn't even know about that one.
But here's how I can tell that I think I'm right on this, because I asked you, Kaiser. I said, "Do you believe in God?" And you answered no. Correct.
Correct.
Okay, and what I would say is, look, you had to have at least an understanding or a concept to point to when that you heard that word God in order to answer that question, thus demonstrating that what I said, my position was correct. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, but I guess I guess you could say that does make
All right.
yeah.
All right, so I mean, what
I'm,
happens?
I'm
What happens is on some of these polls, and I get it. There's no interaction on it, so people only go by what they read on it, and they might have some ladenness with it, right? They might have some baggage they bring with it that may not have been, supposed to have been introduced into the question that causes some confusion. I get that.
that might have been what was happening. Yeah, that sounds about right. Unfortunately,
No, and I thought that was happening with you. Right? I thought I just want to say I think you just are misunderstanding the question, which happens. You're right. You want to weigh in this one real quick?
Yeah, mostly with the idea of gods. I mean, we've been having the discussion for a very freaking long time. So, I mean, it's a pretty well thought out concept as far as in general. I mean, we all have a kind of an idea, and we can get to the nuances after. I mean, probably the biggest departure from from the general description of God would be like the God of Spinoza. Universe itself is God, or nature is God. That's about the biggest deviation from the general God concept. So, I mean, even then, you can still say whether or not you believe that exists or not.
Do you put?
I caught my stove on fire.
Dang, dude, we have an emergency.
Baking soda.
So I don't fucking cook.
Only Look a Pig could catch his kitchen on fire during the Sunday show.
Don't do like my friend's mom did and throw flour on it, thinking that this is a white powder. It'll do the same thing.
No, flour combust because flour.
Did.
Yeah, flour will combust because it's very small particulates.
Yeah, or like dry creamer.
Yeah.
Don't put dry creamer on it.
Yeah, flat grain silos used to blow up for that very reason.
Did you forget to put the pot on the stove? Like, what happened? You just threw the chicken on the grill?
No, I fucking had. I wanted an egg sandwich, so I put the foam egg carton on the fucking burner.
Yeah, let's keep down the list. Listen. Hang on. We don't need to curse. Listen to me. We don't need to curse so much. What happens is people have been cursing an awful lot. That's why my videos are getting demonetized. Every so often it's fine, but if you do it more than a couple times, it automatically. My last 2-3 videos were demonetized like right off the bat. So I'm kind of like going to limit that a little bit because obviously I have to have the monetization. Now I don't worry about somebody actually covered it and actually donated. It was very sweet of them. So, but we don't need every other word. Okay.
I better leave then.
Yeah.
I was joking.
No, kidding. So, anyways, don't burn your house down, dude, because that's just crazy.
Don't burn your F-wording house down.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I know. I've got to conform to YouTube standards.
There's a bit of ashes flying around me, but it's good. Jeez.
Yeah.
Right. That was good.
Let's get back on track because I know they're gonna be calling the sheriffs when they get back from the courthouse for this guy again. So I gotta be ready for that. I'm telling you, there's the notes on the doors on napkins, handwritten, and he's.
Your guy.
Yeah, they're on the shower door, right? He put a lock on the shower door. He put a lock on the shower door.
Take pictures of all that. Yep.
Oh, it's crazy. He's like, I am the king of this castle, and you cannot use this shower. This is my bathroom, and I spent $60 million for this, and I'm like, okay, you're just bad shit, dude.
Excuse me.
Sorry, I said shit.
Where do you live, man? You live in
I can't
Silicon
win.
Valley
It's already demonetized. What? I'm sorry, what?
Where do you live? $60 million.
Oh no, this guy's just crazy, dude. Just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, he brought his own gold fixtures in.
He's just delusional. The cop came out last time because he had changed the lock on the bathroom before. And he put this note saying, if you touch this, you'll be arrested with a felony. And a cop came out and he was reading this and he's like, is this guy serious? I'm like, oh, yeah.
Where do you expect you guys to go to the bathroom, huh?
Well, I have a downstairs.
In front of the door.
Well, I got a downstairs. I have we have a community shower upstairs, right? A couple people share the shower. And I'm like, oh, I'll be damned if you lock me out of that. So I was like, I'm taking a shower, piss off, and I was opening the door, and he called the police on that, and they just like, yeah, this guy needs to go. Oh yeah, no, seriously.
You should ask him these questions. You should ask him these questions you're asking today.
I mean,
see what kind of awesome answers he gives.
We see the same kind of nut jobs here.
Steve, man, I feel bad, dude. I'd say move. Whenever, dude, I couldn't stand that.
Oh
man.
no, I love
really
it here. I am very happy here. I'm not moving. Hell no. I've been here for a couple of years, except for when I was living with Lyrical. I'm back here. I'm quite content here. This guy's got to go.
Just yeah. Make sure you make that place a living hell for him to stay there. Just like yeah.
Well, we don't want to do too much because we don't want him to have any kind of reasons to go against us.
To kill you?
Yeah, that's
Right,
the other
right.
thing.
Sounds like he might choke you to death.
Yeah.
So
Well, he had my
unlock
car. He had my
doors.
car towed, right? Yeah, he was the one that called the cop. Yeah, he's the
Oh,
one that called on that. So because it was on the street with no registration. Now again, I never thought I was going to drive it, but I was using it for storage. You know, whatever.
There you go.
But anyways, you guys don't care about my problems. It's okay, Steve. I need a
Look,
hug.
I mean, the reason I'm really empathetic about it, Steve, is because I actually have to go to court on the 26th, involving a roommate situation, and also involves them leaving broke down cars in the middle of the road. There was a construction company that was trying to get. It's at the glade at the end of a road where there's a gladed area, and this construction company was trying to do sewage work, and it was blocking the road, and I ended up getting caught in the middle of it. So I ended up having to shell out about $1,000 to a lawyer to get these guys basically get the law to take care of them. I got pinned for these cars that were not mine just because my door was closest to where the police knocked, and they basically blamed me on everything. And the police report says that the cars are mine when they're not.
Yeah, it's
They
crazy.
were
isn't
never
it?
mine.
It's crazy when you're
I
afraid.
was trying to tell the
But
I was trying to tell the cops
we got
that.
Kaiser. We got to move. If they don't care about my
Oh God!
life,
I'm
they
sorry.
don't care about yours. I'm telling you right here now. Yeah, these people they don't
Good
really
point.
give a shit about anything. All they want to
Good
do is be
point.
entertained and mock
Good
people.
point.
That's the whole.
I have a
thing
car
anymore.
story. Wait. No.
No, you know what's funny? It's not even about learning anymore. It's just like, let's just make fun of people in the great debate community. Whatever.
Yeah, I was watching. Never mind. Go on.
Somebody's like, Steve has a bucket in his computer. No, that's MK. MK has the bucket and the bottles. Remember? Oh God. You guys?
Hey, that's what I do. I come here to make fun of people.
Do you guys remember
fun.
that MK when he literally went off camera to pee in a bottle and then
Yeah, that's
I
insane.
mean, that's
Von Helton.
That's Von Helton level right
crazy.
there, man. So yeah, we've seen it
I
all.
don't know. Was that worse, or who was it? Pissy Pete that had his house broke into by the cops. They drug him out.
That was
It was
Pissy
like,
Pete.
"You're
Yeah,
stealing me." I think it was.
but Pissy Pete's worse. He
Yeah.
didn't just pee in a bottle; he drank it.
He doesn't even put it in a bottle.
That's
just
how he
puts
got his
you know
name.
what near his mouth and starts
Yeah.
drinking.
All right, let's go back to the polls here. So, because we're going to be at my favorite one here. This is Uriah and Barney.
I
Remember
miss
this
Pissy
gentleman
Pete.
here?
It's been so long since I hear that Irish cunt.
Yeah, he's a piece of work. All right, so Hellfire LWD, the guy that I invited a couple days ago to come on and ask me questions because he says I don't answer questions, which I find to be strange because I generally answer a lot of questions all day long, 24 hours a day, it seems. By now, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this. The Great Debate Community is officially 1 year today. I just got
Really?
an email on it. Yeah, so happy
Wow.
birthday. I thought it was been longer, but it's only been a year. But since it was actually established, so as a group,
Oh, I thought
I
it was
can
shorter.
confirm Steve does answer a lot of questions.
it's a lot of questions. I if somebody doesn't know my position by now, they're not paying attention. It's just,
Actually, I mean, is that official 1 year? Because I don't remember. I recall it being a lot longer than that.
yeah, I thought it was too. Who knows? But I got an email on it saying, happy birthday. So maybe there were some other. I don't know. I've got a lot of stuff out there, so I don't know. Maybe I'll look at it again. I thought it was a lot longer. But all right, so let's
I
look
thought
at
it
this
was shorter.
poll. Is the I was shorter? No, Great Big Community
Yeah.
G Plus has been around a while, and somebody I don't know who it was. I think it was what the fuck Scully. Yeah, I got to say his name because that's a WTF Scully. I was asking something about why I call myself the owner of the Great Debate Community because I'm the owner of the Great Debate Community. I don't think that's kind of self-evident. But when I talk about the Great
says
Debate
owner underneath your name.
yeah, when I talk about Great
It
Debate
says
Community,
owner.
I literally am talking about the G Plus community. I mean, I don't know how else to interpret that because by now people have known the Great Debate Community outside of that, like on YouTube, that's a whole different thing. That's just like anybody who gets involved, in the Great Debate discussion, right? That's a
Okay, that's what I was thinking. That's why I thought there was less. That's what I was thinking. Never
yeah,
mind.
that's a whole different thing, right?
But yeah, it
I
says
mean,
owner right underneath your name. Like you look it up on G Plus, it says Steve McCrae owner.
yeah, I don't know
so
why
I don't
that's so
see how-
confusing to people. I mean,
so
I
difficult
try
for
to be
them.
specific when I'm talking about the GDC, right? The GDC is the G Plus group, right? All right, so let's look at this Hellfire guy because we've all had run-ins with him. By now, I think everybody who's read his things has realized that there's just something fundamentally wrong with this guy. Now, I was going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's from the Netherlands. He's Dutch or whatever. And I was thinking that because English is probably not his primary language, he's having contextual difficulties understanding things. I no longer think that. I think that he does have problems with contextual things. He does understand English, but that's not because he's Dutch. It's because he just doesn't understand any of these concepts. But he asked, which of the answers fit the following questions? Do you think a deity of any kind exists? Okay, well, let's look at his polling thing here. I didn't even know how to parse this out. I really had a hard time with this. This is probably one of the worst or poorly worded polls I think I've ever seen. The very first option. Did anybody tell me what they find odd with that very first option? Nobody?
I can't see it.
Oh, you're not seeing it? Oh, well, you're not looking
No.
in the inside chat. That's why. You have to look. You're not watching the video.
No, I'm on my phone.
Oh, okay. It says yes, I do, or no, I don't. In the same option, it says yes or no.
Keep it up for a second because I actually found a way to see it on my phone.
Yeah, it's up. I mean, I don't know how you have in one option the options of yes or no. I mean, excluding I don't know, it's basically going to be one or the other. I mean, yes.
No,
or
he's constantly trying to make a point that regardless of what you know, you must have a position. You must think that one is more likely or the other sufficiently to decide. Like he's misapplying the excluded middle.
So he thinks. Well, yeah. Well, hang on. He thinks the dichotomy is between atheism and theism, right? Because he attaches atheism to equal non-theism, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So he thinks because that was the new dichotomy that you have to be, well, to him a dichotomy, you have to be one or the other, not understanding, as you said, you do not have to be one or the other in philosophy. Now he is right, though. If you do make atheism non-theism, obviously you fall into one or the other, right? That's why I reject. I'm getting an echo. That's why I reject atheism equaling non-theism, right? Because if you do that, then by categories, by set theory, anything is either atheist or theist, right? That's the whole argument Bionic Dance makes, that rocks are atheist because they're not theist, which I think is absolutely absurd. What do you think, Barney?
I agree. I absolutely agree. Well, the thing is, the thing that he kept stressing over and over and over again is, what do you think is the right answer?
What does he think
what
that
would
word
your
means?
guess be?
What does he think
Right?
think means? I gave him synonyms for it, right? I'm like, look at think, believe, have an opinion on. By the way, and there's different types of opinions, right? There's one type of opinion called a self-assessment. If I say, hey, I think I'm hungry, I have no justification to really show you that I'm hungry, right? It's just a self-assessment, right? But if I say, hey, I think that 2 + 2 = 5, I am now making a claim. I believe 2 + 2 = 5. I need to show you why I believe 2 + 2 = 5. Do you see the difference?
Definitely.
Okay, because there is a difference.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. We all kind of use opinions and beliefs kind of synonymously, and I'm okay with that. But there is a small difference if I'm not making something that comports to reality. I'm not saying, "Hey, I'm hungry. I'm going to have to prove to you or justify to you that comports with reality." Nobody cares, right? I'm not gonna care if you. How do you show me that you're hungry, right?
Yeah. Now,
Whether
if you say I'm malnutritioned and you look like a stick walking in, then we might give you some food.
That's a whole
And we
different
say,
ballgame,
yes,
right?
we agree with you.
Or something
What
else.
if you're like Chris Farley? It'll be a lay off me. I'm starving.
Okay, then that's another.
But there's also something called an incorrigible belief, right? And that means like I like vanilla more than I do like chocolate, right? I prefer vanilla over chocolate. That's an incorrigible
That's
belief.
racist.
It's racist.
Yeah.
But I mean that's a belief that I can't demonstrate to you, right? It's true by the virtue of the fact that I hold that as a belief, making it an incorrigible belief. So it's true by virtue. I don't think he understands those concepts. But let's look at the next one. This is where he was trying to go with this, and he failed so hard. He says, "I believe we cannot quote know right now." Okay, well that's a Huxleyan. That's a temporal agnostic position, right? I believe we can't know right now. But I could be wrong on that. I'm fine with that, right? Maybe somebody knows God exists, right? Maybe God's talked to them. I don't know. I don't think so, right? I don't think God's come down and had a conversation with anybody in a very long time if he does exist. But he asked a belief question, right? He says, "Do you think a deity of any kind exists?" And then he asked about knowledge. He asked about belief.
I believe we cannot.
That
Do you believe we cannot know right now? That's,
I don't know. It's
I
really
disagree.
Doesn't sound
He
right
didn't
either.
even ask all of the above. And I would include in that everything else you might have thought when you heard that question. If you thought potato would have been a qualified.
All right, let's try that now. All right, so we should be back here. Let me look at the live feed. I changed some things around. So is that better? Outside chat, or is it still buffering? Is it still
Is
buffering?
burning styrofoam cancerous? Like, is it carcinogenic?
Yes, I believe so.
Well, I just got my daily dose of cancer.
Go back in, Stan. Mom, just get some cancer. It's all right.
All right. Well, they say it's better for now, so we'll kind of continue. Yeah, don't ever criticize Australian internet. Well, no, it's not Linux either. I think it's OBS. But I'm still playing with some of the settings. It's a work in progress. You never know with this. It's still buffering. Some people say it's fine. Some people say it's buffering, so it's weird.
Steve,
okay.
you have some connections. I've been looking into joining the Illuminati.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're a Jew, and you know, the world's run by Jews. So, well, what do I need to do?
Nothing, because we're not going to give up our dominion. All right, so I'm back on. So let's see here. So let me give the light chat. I changed a couple more settings. It should be okay now. I mean, I'm at a very low resolution and a very low bit rate, so we'll give him a chance to catch up here. 3, 2, 1. Should be caught up. So, okay, live chat.
Oh God.
Yes.
Oh boy. So something in the live chat said blow on the cartridge.
All right, I'll hit. They want me to hit F5, but the problem is I know it's not F5 because if it was F5, you guys wouldn't be able to hear me, right? So can they hear me now?
Oh, everybody kicked out again, huh?
How can it still be buffering? All right, there's one other thing I can do. And my nothing's pegging high, so let's see if I get rid of some of this stuff. Okay, is it better now, guys? See, some people say that it's okay now, so.
Check. Sibilis. 1, 2.
But unfortunately, there's a delay there, so I don't. Well, no, the show says buffering. I'm not sure why I'd be buffering. Everything's good on my end. Well, this is unfortunate because I wanted to get back this to this guy here.
I've yet to see any lag. I'm doing fine every time. I don't know what the deal is.
I think trolls are messing with us. I'd say we believe the people that are just say it's good.
All right. Yeah, a lot. There's both, so I don't know which one to believe. So, okay, Jim can hear me. So if Jim can hear me, screw the rest of you. As long as Jim can hear, we're good to go, right? Okay, no, I'm just kidding. All right, so I changed a lot of settings. I put the lower resolution. I changed the bit rate down, so it should be no problem. So let's continue with this guy. So anyways, now we're in the troll portion. Marcus was like, I've been able to hear you the whole time, Steve. Okay, I can't win, man. I don't know. Everything is green on my end. I mean, literally, everything's perfect here. So, Um, I don't know why some people have a problem. You know what? It could be one of those YouTube things. There are times that certain areas have shittier problems than others, right? And they buffer. Have you guys seen that before on YouTube?
Yeah, not. I don't know. Not clearly. Chris says he's doing better though.
All right. Well, I'm getting DDoS. That's what it is. So, anyways, with this guy, we're going to be the troll portion. What do you think about this guy? Now, I don't think he's a troll. And let me tell you what I think is a troll. A troll is somebody who literally just wants to spew shit for an emotional response. We've all seen them in the cesspools. Charles Steptoe, Angela Martin. There's been a few people that are just blatant trolls, and they hang out in groups like Theist versus Atheist and other groups on G Plus that talk about these things that are complete bottom of the barrel. We're talking 4chan level stuff, right? These people are not versed in any subject. They just I don't know what words to describe them. They're just scum for the most part, right?
Our secret Lord, Jesus saves. Those dudes are just absolute assholes.
You know them, right? You know the people I'm talking about. Oh yeah, Jesus saves. Oh my God, he's a flat earther.
Dude, he's like all this proofs are dank shit posting memes.
That's it.
Every one of his is proof.
Yeah, that's it. So anyways, I guess this guy Hellfire is from those groups. I guess that's how he found us, right? Yeah, I know the resolution is going to be fuzzy because I changed the resolution, but I'd rather have it be a little less clear and not buffer. So I can make the chat larger if you guys can't see the chat. That's not a big deal. Do you guys need the chat a little larger?
They're in the chat. They can obviously see the chat.
No, that's true, but they won't be able to see it on the video. That's what my concern is. I'll blow it up one more. I'll go to one more thing. But anyway, so what do you want? So what do you think about this guy, Uriah? I mean, you've engaged with him a few times. I happen to enjoy what you write when it comes to the logic and stuff like that, and I will ask you questions to make sure that I think that I have a demonstration that I understand what you're talking about and it makes sense to me, and you clarify. I don't think he understands a word that you say. Like you're just seriously speaking a different language to him. Literally, you're speaking like math and philosophy to him. What's your impression of this guy? I'm sorry, did Ray leave? Yeah, I think he left. How about you, Barney? You've had the same problem. What do you think of him?
I can't figure him out. I'm missing the answer to the question why. So he acts like G-Man in the severity of his arguments. I'm going to put literal words into your mouth and literal thoughts into your head, and then I'm going to argue those while completely ignoring you. You're just a wall that I can bounce my ideas off until you agree.
So he's doing the fisherman fallacy, right? He's fishing for an answer.
Reason why.
Would you say that he wants people to answer in a way that either A, he understands, which is probably a very limited myopic form of response because he doesn't know how to respond to the actual answers, and do you think he's just fishing, keep asking something until he gets the answer he wants?
Exactly.
I don't know what to do with that, right? I mean, if you don't understand me, I understand that, I get that, ask for clarification, but after a few days at that point, I don't know what else to do. I've accused myself, and other people can try. You've tried. Uriah's tried. Agrippa has tried. A lot of people have tried with this guy. He doesn't get it, and then he'll be like that poll that he posted said, "Oh, well, half those people recognized your flaw, Steve, and your reasoning," and I'm like, nobody said anything about any flaw in any reasoning on that poll. I don't know what you're seeing here that I and everybody else are not seeing. So let me ask you guys here, did anybody get that impression from that poll that he somehow put a flaw in my reasoning or saw something that I said wrong as far as agnosticism and atheism?
Oh, like all the questions he posed it in such a way that there is one and only one answer that he will accept and that he will find to be acceptable.
I don't know how you have a dialogue that way.
That's a malformed question.
Yeah, like when did you stop beating your wife?
Exactly.
Yeah, I keep explaining this to him, right? I'm like trying to tell him what a loaded question is, and he's like, "Look, you either believe or you do not believe." Okay, fine. I don't have a God belief. That's theism versus non-theism. I still don't understand the problem here, right? I don't know where he's coming. He thinks that I don't know if he realizes there's a difference between saying I do not believe and I believe X, right? There's a huge difference there, right? If you say, hey, Steve, I bought a new car. Do you believe that's the color red? I'd be like, no, I don't believe it's the color red because I have no idea what the color of the car is. I have no knowledge to draw upon to even infer what the hell the car color you have, right? I lack a belief in any color at that point because I have no information that gives me a belief either way. So I don't believe that your car is red. I don't believe that car is not red. I'm agnostic on it.
So
what am I supposed to do?
His argument for that point was there has been millennia of discussion on the point, and lots of written record by all those philosophers and theologians. It is impossible not to have an opinion on it, especially in a community which is called the Great Debate.
But that's first of all, that's an evidential argument, though. That's an evidential argument. That's not arguing against my reasoning and my logic.
Yeah, no.
Aaron in chat asked, "Who's God's God?"
Scarlett Johansson. Yeah, or Morgan Freeman. Yeah, Morgan Freeman is the God's God.
What about no.
I'll take. No, I don't know. Would you rather have a nice romantic evening with Scarlett Johansson, or have Morgan Freeman read you to sleep, reading like A Tale of Two Cities to you or something?
I'd go the George Carlin method with Joe Pesci.
Ooh, that would be awful, I think. but anyways, that's a good time.
Yeah, but Barney, Joe Pesci gets things fucking done.
Yeah, well, Barney, but that's a totally different argument, right? I mean, he could argue to the cows come home, an evidentialist, for hey, thousands of years, it should be resolved. Well, you know what? It's not resolved. If it was resolved, it wouldn't be groups like this.
I didn't get it that his position was that it's resolved. It's that by now you should have a position.
Well, he has no say to tell me what I should have a position on.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just ridiculous. I mean, I can't tell somebody, well, you have to have a position on this. Well, actually, I do have a position. My position is agnosticism, which is another thing he doesn't understand. Agnosticism is a belief position, right? It's not. I'm not saying I don't know that I can't solve the answer the question, right? I know I can't solve the question. That's why I say I should say I believe that I can't answer it. I just unable to. But he wants the surety that a person says, look, either I'm X or I'm not X, which is fine. You tell him you're not X, then he thinks that you're Y. That's literally what he's doing. You say, okay, I don't have a belief in this. Okay, well, instead of just being a non-theist, that makes you an atheist. Well, no, it doesn't in philosophy. That's what he's missing, right?
One problem that I think that people like him have is that agnosticism doesn't align itself to objective truth. So there is a God or there isn't a God. Theism aligns to the possible truth that there is a God. Atheism aligns to the possible truth that there isn't a God, and agnosticism says, fuck you all.
Okay, well, you can have one. Okay, if you're talking about there's two things going on. One, you have an ontological state, right? So ontologically, either God exists or he does not exist. Everybody agrees with that. I don't know why he would think that's not a simple dichotomy. The other thing would be a fictional truth statement, where I say, look, Superman can fly. Well, that doesn't comport to anything with reality. Obviously, there's no being in the universe called Superman. However, I take fictional truth values to be true. And I've had this discussion with Uriah, and he's actually kind of helped me clarify this position. And I'm fine with that. I can assign a truth value to that Superman can fly is true. Then that doesn't mean that Superman exists in reality. We're talking about a fictional truth statement. But I think that you can assign a truth or false value to a fictional false statement. I'm not a non-cognitivist when it comes to that. Do you want to expand about that now that you're back a little bit, Uriah?
About the fictional part of it.
That or the whole thing that he's not understanding. A non-belief doesn't necessarily put you into atheism, and that he's just not understanding the words that I'm telling him when he's asking me my position, because he keeps on saying, I'm asking Steve a simple question, I cannot get an answer. I think I've gotten it down to the most simplistic bare form I can make it. I can't make it any simpler for this guy.
Yeah, I think what he's getting at is that he's I think he's confusing your epistemic status with your metaphysical position.
Yeah.
The best
Oh,
way I put
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely.
So epistemically, you're saying I don't know, but then he's jumping from that to oh well, then you must. In your set of things that there is and isn't, you must have no God in there.
But what he doesn't understand, if I held a God belief, I would be a theist.
Right.
How is that concept so lost on a single person? I do not know. It's just driving my mind crazy thinking, how does this guy interpreting this stuff? I'm used to dealing with G-Man level, right? Just nonsensical bullshit.
I was really about to say that. I was like, dude, this is just like G-Man.
He really is. He is the atheist version of G-Man at this point. His arguments are the atheist versions of G-Man arguments. They're that bad. And yet, instead of learning something and wanting to,
as I said,
I
I would like to defend G-Man here, because that would be an insult to G-Man. Because G-Man is at least minimally reasonable in the fact that he has a reason for behaving the way he does. I cannot for the life of me think up the reason why this guy would act.
I don't know, unless he's just.
Dude, we've got to get these two guys together.
Oh, that'd be an awesome debate. G-Man being the ultimate ignorant theist, and this guy Hell being the ultimate ignorant atheist. What would happen? Would that be like Division by Zero? Would that be like two neutron stars combining or something? Just super density.
What's that thing the Joker said at the end of it's like movable object, but unstoppable force.
It would be literally like they had just discovered a new type of a supernova the other day called a kilonova. Did you read about that, Barney?
Wait. You're talking about the one where it's so massive where it doesn't even, it's completely annihilated.
No, that's a hypernova. That's a hypernova. No, this is a brand new thing this morning. It is going to revolutionize astronomy. It is the first time in history where we actually detected not only the gravitational waves from LIGO, but we actually observed it optically as well. How cool is that?
Wait, what kind of nova did they name it?
It's called a kilonova.
I'll have to look that up.
They've been hypothesizing it for years. They've discovered it. It's confirmed.
It's a collision of two neutron stars whose combined mass is insufficient to create a black hole.
Yeah.
So it's two neutron stars still creating a neutron star.
It's weird, right? Because there are types of black holes where you combine two neutron stars, get a gamma ray burst, and it's so dense in such a small area.
I thought they already existed.
No, these annihilate each other of some kind. They basically I don't know if all the energy is being converted into gravitational waves and optical. The first detection we had with LIGO, it was only 3 solar masses worth of mass that was converted into gravitational waves. That's still an exceptional amount. But, I mean, you think about this. These things happened hundreds of millions of years ago. Sometimes even longer, right?
Oh wait, I remember. I did watch it. It was actually closer. The thing about the sensitivity of the detectors, there's actually a range where the neutron stars actually have don't have as far of a range as black holes, which is why they were expecting.
Yeah, I think that might be right. And I don't know if somebody said this old news. This literally was like the event happened on the 14th, I think, 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we detected it 2 days ago.
I only scanned it. I need to read up on it more clearly. I really just scanned it.
Yeah, I didn't get a whole gist of it either because I had things going on. But yeah, it's still pretty cool because you still have people like Jungle Jargon going, universe 7,000 years old. God. But can you imagine? We actually detected not only the gravitational waves, but optically. I mean, that's just awesome.
The whole thing about turning LIGO, like gravitational wave facilities, basically the whole thing about them is you can convert them into a type of a telescope. And that's like the biggest thing as far as that's the way
you need 2 or 3 of them, I believe. Though you have they can actually before we can actually tell you what kind of position the sky was at. Then they were able to like put a section in the sky, and now they have 3 with Virgo. Then there's 2 other ones that they can actually
what a time to be alive.
Yeah. And this one lasted like 100 seconds. I mean, how ridiculous is that? Usually it's like a
I
microsecond.
didn't know it was that long.
Yeah, it was like it's just crazy. But they're going nuts because this is going to open up a whole new field of astronomy, gravitational astronomy. This is like when Galileo discovered the telescope. That level of change of paradigm, I think. So.
But Steve, science lies.
Science lies. Yes, we all know.
Yeah,
yes, of course.
I really want to go to the James Webb Telescope launch next year. I'm really making an effort to try to go.
They postponed it to 2019.
Oh God. Yeah. Well, more time to prepare.
Yeah, they're postponing issues, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. They're going to put that in what, L2?
Yeah, or one of the Lagrangians. I can't remember if it's L1 or L2.
I don't remember. I think I thought it was going to Lagrange too, but okay. But anyways, somebody asked me a question here, so let me answer it. Tiktaalik says, would you say you have faith in not knowing, or you do not have evidence? Why is the issue any different from any other fairy tale? Well, first of all, that's a loaded question. I mean, you're already assuming it's a fairy tale. I'd say, before I answer that question, there's certain questions that I find that just bog down the conversation in the Great Japan community. Things like, Sky Daddy, right? That always seems to bother me because most people don't believe in a Sky Daddy. They don't think God lives in the sky, and that Daddy is kind of just a pejorative term. I don't think that adds to a conversation. These are not.
It's just an insult more than anything.
Right. These are not scientific claims. You want to go mock a young Earth creationist for having a shitty scientific claim? Go for it, right? But these are theological positions, and I don't mock theological positions. I never have. I've never insulted anybody ever for holding a theological position of somebody, like a Catholic or whatever. I'm not going to go after Catholics. I'm not going to go after Jews. I've never done that on my channel, if you guys have noticed, right? I've always attacked the claims they make as far as mostly the scientific ones, right? But so I think it's a loaded question, but you have faith in not knowing. I don't know how to interpret that, though. I don't know how to put a truth value to that propositional state if theism is true or not. Sometimes I'm a little bit lower than half. I'm a little bit higher than half. I'm a little bit toward atheism. I'm a little bit toward theism. But my reasoning for that is completely subjective, right? I'm not going to ever use an argument for why I still think there might be a God by a type of argument using evidence, using scientific evidence, empiricism. Right? That would never be my argument. Mine's completely subjective by self assessment to myself of things that I've experienced. It's all been experiential, right? But I cannot convey those to other people because those are I have an epistemic limit. So I'm not ignoring the word evidence. Evidence. There's a couple different ways to use the word evidence, and this is actually a good question because Hellfire gets this confused too. Evidence in science is generally anything that can change the probability of a hypothesis being true. Would you guys agree with that? Or false, right? Be able to reject hypothesis. That's generally how it's conveyed. So
yeah, I would go with that.
Okay, so that's an evidential standpoint. That's an empiricist point of view, right? But I'm not a logical positivist, and a logical positivist would say, look, unless you can demonstrate something with empiricism, right? Unless you can prove something using logic, it's not a valued belief. You cannot hold that belief. I don't follow that, right? There are other types of evidence that are not empiricism. There are things like testimonial evidence, historical evidence. Now you can say, look, we don't rely on any of that stuff. Okay, fine, fair criticism, right? Testimonial evidence is shit. Let's be honest, but that's still a type of evidence used in a general parlance when we say evidence. So we're not talking about scientific evidence. So when you're asking me about evidence, my evidence is solely stuff that I only know to myself. I cannot relate it to you. I cannot have you experience what I've experienced. So I don't use that as an argument. But it does go into how I weigh whether I am going to judge myself to be on the theist side or the atheist side. Now, I don't know how else to explain that to people, right? This is what I think is fishing for something that they're looking for rather than having to listen to what I'm explaining why I hold a particular position.
In short, when somebody presents their evidence, you're either convinced or you're not.
Yeah, no, and there's certain evidence, of course, I think is better than others, right? Obviously, when it comes to like the young Earth creationist God, I think that God, there's so much evidence against that God, I will come out and say, I believe that particular God does not exist. I think most of us in here agree with that particular god
Yeah.
does not exist.
Along with most of the other gods.
Yeah.
But that one especially.
Right.
Well, that's up there with like Thor and Santa Claus anyway. So
Yeah, any of the gods that hold a reign over a particular aspect of nature, I believe don't exist. Now, but you ask Ocean, right? Ocean's going to say that he believes in those gods, right? He believes in Odin. He believes in chaos. He believes in Loki.
Yeah. I think he's watched too many Marvel comics, but
that's his belief, right? But if he wants to justify why he believes in those things, that's fine. I'll listen to Ocean.
It makes for good conversation, that's for sure.
Well, he just has a soft, sultry, like churned butter voice, right? So that's why we listen to Ocean. Him and Bod. They're the best radio voices. Some people complain I make it too difficult to comprehend. Look, I've explained it two different ways. I'll explain it the way I explain it, then I'll actually put it to very simple language. Hellfire doesn't understand either way. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, guys. How many days have I tried to explain to him 1,000 different ways? I mean, in the most simplistic ways possible. I even said, I don't know. That's an answer, right? How much more basic can I get with this guy, Uriah?
I don't know. I don't know what's up with this guy. He'll sit there and or he'll say like, he'll do stuff and say like, well, you guys are saying that I have to have this position, but I don't. I'm like, when did we say that? We're saying that for us it means this.
Yeah, I noticed that too. He does say that, doesn't he? He says like, why are you forcing me to accept your definitions, kind of thing. I'm like, I'm not. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, no, and I'm thinking to myself, what the hell? Have you not even, have you ever used a dictionary? There's more than one meaning to a word.
Yeah, and there's no intrinsic meaning to a word. There's nothing that I can say, look, this is the ultimate definition for something. This is the objective definition. How would that even work?
Yeah, like, I remember that Charles Steptoe kid tried to do that to me. He was asking me for evidence of a definition.
Well, evidence for a definition, other than just, hey, like a dictionary.
Yeah, I even posted the dictionary, the dictionary definition, and he still asked for empirical evidence.
Well, he's a troll. Yeah, let me make this very clear. If you guys don't know who Charles Steptoe is, and he goes other names by like Old Crick. He has like a dozen sock accounts. He hangs in the bottom feeders in the other groups. And he one time made it over to our group. He was gone within a day or two. He is the ultimate troll.
I'm actually reading Hellfire's reply to that he made 10 hours ago.
Well, Hellfire and him are friends. You know that? When Hellfire listens to Charles. Right? He thinks that Charles got banned from the community because he kicked my ass in a debate. I shit you not. That's what Hellfire is. I'm like,
he reminds me kind of like a Jink. He reminds me like Jink Uger, like reasonable discussions. Come on, he's like, if you have an actual argument to make or any kind of evidence or indication of the actual universe, let me know. Don't bother me with your intellectual mind bar. Like, what the fuck?
Well, Charles Steptoe would go on every single post and just word vomit. He hijacked almost every post there for a while. That's why he was moved, right? But he's going around telling people that he was removed because him and I had a debate, which never has happened. I've only debated two people, which was Wayne and Ronnie, and that we had a debate, and that he beat me so bad that I was forced to take action to remove him from the Great Debate community to save face. Wrap your head around that one. Yeah. I can't make this shit up, right? It's just like, I'm like, really? This is like Eric Jewell level stupid. Because he's doing the same thing. He's been over on my video, and he's like, how can anybody think that you won this and the debate? I'm like, first of all, it was not a debate. I've told you from the beginning, don't call it a debate. I even said, if you call it a debate, I'm not going to show up. It's a discussion. And he deleted his copy of it because people were leaving comments what a dumbass he was, and he kept having to delete those comments. And so he finally deleted the video. So he comes on to my video, which has hundreds of comments. It's 1,000 views. People like, yeah, Eric, you you just don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're just an idiot in all this. And he's like, oh well, you're just filtering out the comments you don't like. I'm like, I haven't deleted anything from this dude. These all people are mocking you. So
he's just like they're trying to discuss the polls with these polls he made. He's like, what polls? Oh right, you got nothing on me at all. Like you ain't got nothing on me, copper. Ah.
Are you talking about a Hellfire?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like so criminal, like suspect sounding.
I just think he's something. I don't want to say he has mental defect because then I can't be too harsh on him. We have that kind of understanding, but I think there's something wrong there. There's seriously something wrong with his ability to understand.
Yeah, I think I've told him he has to be at a preschool level to understand some of this stuff.
Well, I mean, you've been over the other groups, right? I mean, you've seen the level that they're at as far as they throw every bad argument out there, right? They're literally the younger creationist versions of atheist. They're the Piltdown Man atheist type, right? That's how bad their arguments are.
Yeah.
Here's one argument for you. How about this, Uri? I love this. This is one of my favorite arguments. And this was Hellfire's. It's going to be probably paraphrased, but close enough. He said, no, this wasn't paraphrase. No, I'm sorry. This was actually Veritas Virtus. I'm sorry. I don't want to attribute it to the wrong person or misattribute it. I'll talk about this guy in a second. Veritas Virtus, also known as something or other. I can't remember how to pronounce his name, but his argument was this. God does not exist because supernatural doesn't exist. If supernatural doesn't exist, therefore God does not exist.
Oh, that was that dude with that looked high in the video, huh?
The car atheist, the guy, the bald headed guy. Yeah, his name's Veritas Virtus is his channel. He goes by Osima or whatever. I've been trying to correct him forever. Ozzy just thinks he's just so off base. He's like this guy. We all going. This guy just should not be representing
if you squint hard enough and twist your head just the right way, it's a naturalist position.
Well, yeah, no, and if somebody says, look, according to the naturalist position, God does not exist. That's fine, but that's not an argument. That's just a statement. That's a necessary condition of naturalism. That's not an argument against God existing.
Retarded as anybody else.
Yeah, you still have to argue that naturalism is true, right? You can't just assert it and go, okay, because I'm asserting this, therefore God doesn't exist. If that was the case, nobody would be even arguing about this subject anymore. There would be no great debate.
Yay!
Right, now, yay!
I can exclaim my belief in naturalism.
Yes.
And then try to defend it as best I can.
Absolutely. But I'm not an ontological naturalist.
Now, I remember under that video, I was making a case. I'm like, you can argue that the supernatural doesn't exist, therefore supernatural gods don't exist, but you can't just start out with gods don't exist because the supernatural exists without having some backup and some context on what you mean by that.
Well, he thinks it's a good argument. But this is the same guy that he goes back and forth between hard and soft atheism. Some of his videos he's like, look, I'm a hard atheist. I believe God does not exist. I make it very clear. That's my belief. Blah blah blah. Okay, great. And then when you contacting him on one of his posts, he'll always resort back to atheism. Because be like, oh well, atheism is just lack of belief. Therefore, I don't have a burden of justification. Well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
How does this work?
Maybe he has a troubled relationship, and when he's on the downside, he goes hard atheist. Or I
don't know. He keeps asking me, like, I'm not asking you what you know, Steve. I'm asking what you believe. I'm like, I'm an agnostic. Well, I'm not asking you what you know. Why do people do that? He's not the only one that does that. They think that if I answer I'm agnostic, they're like, well, agnostic what? No, just agnostic.
Because the noun.
You say that again, you dropped out.
I said they don't seem to understand that not only is there the adjective agnostic, there's also the noun.
Yeah, exactly. Agnostic. Oh, they say it's buffering. Yeah. I mean, if you want to take agnostic as an adjective, as some kind of epistemic modifier, I have no problem with that, right? I don't particularly think it makes sense, right? I would never say agnostic atheism, even as a hard atheist, because it's just redundant. But it's not grammatically incorrect, right? But the problem is I'm using it as a noun. I'm using it as position.
Ooh, can you be an agnostic agnostic?
I'm agnostic about my agnosticism. It's kind of like the KK principle in reverse, isn't it?
I think that might actually be, well, if you think of on a negative positive thing.
No, I don't think you could. You either know you have a position or you don't.
Actually, agnostic agnostic is the position of everybody who is not agnostic. They just don't know that they don't know.
Well, if you're not agnostic, you're something else then, probably. And if you're something else then you're probably not agnostic. I mean, if you say, I'm not agnostic, then you probably are going to be some other position, right? That tells you that they're not agnostic. If I say I'm a theological non-cog, well, okay, I know you're not agnostic now. Although some people have tried to assume theological non-cog under agnosticism, which I don't know how that works either. The whole point of having the theological non-cog is you don't get assumed under those other positions. But yeah, I think people say there's still buffering going on. Unfortunately, guys, I don't want to have too much buffering. I know that they're going to be back soon anyway, so I'm going to probably cut it short a little bit. I'll have another hangout without the live stream, just with a straight hangout, because it's just so much smoother than the OBS. Or the other thing I'm going to try, I'm actually running this not out of memory. I'm going to try doing this one more time streaming, but I'm just going to run it strictly out of RAM, like a RAM drive. Hopefully that might solve some problems. Again, I've been trying different things. I tried Windows again last time, and again, Windows just was horrible for this. So now I'm trying Linux with normal low latency. That doesn't seem to be working. So,
are you using a solid state drive, by the way?
No, I had a solid state drive in the other computer. This computer does not have a solid state drive, and that's one of the problems that I have when I run like Opera. Opera will cache more frequently than Chrome, and when it caches, it basically lags on the Hangout, right? Because obviously a solid state drive is not going to have that problem because it's uber fast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, solid state drives are amazing. But it is what it is. This machine, was bought to me from somebody. It worked great for what it does. It's not quite the machine. It's just, I think it's OBS and Linux more than anything else, and Windows. I mean, it's just we all have problems streaming, I guess.
Is it a dual boot computer, or
Yes.
is it just all Linux? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's a dual boot computer. I have a partition manager, but I also have a thumb drive where I can boot right off of a studio, put everything into memory.
Sweet.
That's why that's the best thing about the machine.
This is just YouTube trying to get you out of business.
Probably. But it's got 16 gigs of, not megs, it's got 16 gigs of RAM, so I can load the entire operating system in and have plenty of room to do stuff, and it's very, very, very fast. And I usually do it that way. It's a speed demon that way, actually. Have you ever ran things directly out of RAM like that? It's amazing.
Not since Windows 98. I haven't done that since Windows 98.
Oh, you used to create a RAM drive and just do it that way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I used to run a backtrack and Kali Linux off a thumb drive. That would work pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to try the next stream. I'm just going to run it straight off the thumb drive and see how that works.
Real quick, because I can't stay, I wanted to let you know your video got removed from my stream. Not the live stream itself, but from my the today feed.
From the feed?
Yeah, so I think your video probably got dinged.
So
you might want to.
What video?
This hangout that you're wherever it is, however you're streaming it, it got removed from my feed.
No, I still have it in my subscriptions feed.
It's still live, so I don't know what that would mean. But I'll look into it. By the way, who is that? Is that Cerberus Hex?
Yeah.
I'm not looking over. Oh, really? Hey, bud. Oh, now I can see. I just changed it over. Hey, I was going to ask you. Oh, yeah. Did you get that resolved the other day with that whole thing with Carrie? I know you talked to Sam, and Sam clarified his position, so it made perfect sense to me. But Carrie, I'm not quite sure what the hell he was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, they were saying about the same thing, I think.
I don't think they were. I don't know. Were they? Because I mean, what Sam said made sense to me. But
what Sam says makes sense to me. It's just to make it make sense to me, I'm removing the word incoherent and replacing it with something that's inconsistent or illogical.
Okay. I was just curious. Okay, so anyways, guys, I am going to make this shorter than usual. Sorry. Actually, not really. It should only been an hour show anyways. I mean, JD's gone down to a half hour, even though it's really going. He said a half hour. I think his last one lasted an hour. But anyways, you guys want to like get the last word in? Anything to say to add? I mean, you guys have anything?
Nah, I just not really.
Okay.
This was a pretty wholesome hangout.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, like I said, I just wanted to go over the results of the polls. I would have liked to had Hellfire come in. He said he would, but he cowered out, like literally cowered out. He said that he didn't want to ask me these questions in real time for whatever reason. I'm like, well, okay, wait a minute.
How does what does that? What?
I have no idea why.
What does that matter?
I have no idea why. I mean, I'm able to answer these questions. Like, you can't answer simple questions. I'm like, I've been on here for how long?
Maybe he has a bad stutter like me, and he doesn't want to embarrass himself. I don't know.
No, he's Dutch.
No, you're unable to answer them in the way that he wants you to answer them.
Sure, but that's not going to change if he asks me live or he asks me, in a comment box, right? I'm going to answer the way I answer, and if people find my answers to be vague or whatever, we can clarify. But I mean, I understand most of what Uriah writes. I mean, he writes in a very high level. I'm not going to say I understand all of it, but what I don't understand, I go look up. I've learned a lot from Uriah, but I at least try to understand what he's saying, right? And if I don't, I ask questions. I don't see this guy doing that. He just assumes that we're all idiots and that Uriah has no idea what the hell he's talking about in logic, and I have no idea what I'm talking about in regards to my position, which was strange. It's my position. I think I probably know it better than anybody. At least, I'm not saying that I understand these concepts better than anybody, but I know my particular position better than anybody, just like you know your position better than anybody. But Uriah, I mean, I do learn a lot from you, so I do appreciate that. But do you think he just doesn't want to like admit that he doesn't know what the hell you're saying?
Yeah, I'm thinking he's hiding behind. He's just hiding his ignorance.
So. Steve, by the way, I apologize. It took me this long to do it. I just, I never, I'm just too busy. I have a Google Drive account in which I uploaded all of my eclipse pictures, my eclipse images that I took, and it's a time lapse. Really, it's free to all. If anybody wants to make a time lapse out of it, if anybody wants to picture, I'm practically giving them away. I'm just like, if anybody wants to take them,
I'll look at them.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I'll put the link in the green chat.
All right, it's buffering again, so I'm just going to end this, guys. Let me just type in the live. Can somebody type in the live chat that I'm going to be expanding it? So thank you guys for watching. Like I said, I'll have another hangout later on tonight to let you know how this roommate situation went. But I'm just going to do it by a normal hangout. But it won't be till like 8 o'clock. Maybe I'll have a rum and coke night. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Nice. Can you have Kevin on again?
You talking about tonight or tomorrow night?
I might have one tonight. I don't know. We'll see. I'm a little disappointed. Like I said, I really was. I was expecting this guy Hellfire to come in because, I said, look, I have nothing really more to add to this until Monday because you're not getting this. So at this point, why don't we just wait? Because I feel like I'm talking to a child at this point. I feel like I'm talking to somebody.
Steve, if you, I don't know if you've seen his replies, but he's basically saying he's not coming in because there's nothing to discuss. That's pretty much the
So he doesn't understand what I'm saying. He thinks that atheism is a positive position by any definition. It's not a positive position by any definition. He thinks that agnosticism is not a valid position. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he's basically saying there's nothing to, which is a crock of shit. It's total BS. He is cowering out, and he says I'm not cowering out. There's nothing to discuss. Just once you bring something that's worthy of me being there, then I might come around.
Wow, what arrogance!
That's pretty messed up, actually.
Go ahead and read his response. In fact, if you want, if I can refine my 10 minutes, but that's pretty much the summary of.
Well, I gotta tell you, this is the level that we're dealing with here. He just thinks that what I find the most comical. He's actually saying why he actually he didn't want to come in because he just like doesn't want to go to like a circle jerk or something. Everybody's agreeing with me, and I'm like, he does not understand the GDC. This is not a community where everybody disagrees with Steve. Okay, trust me on this one.
Steve, wait, Steve, look. Here's his quote. You're gonna love this.
Was that a Freudian slip there?
Look,
No, I
look,
said it too quickly, but I kind of caught that. I was like, I said it too fast. But
this is what he.
I want to
I'm sorry,
clarify.
go ahead.
This is not a group where everybody comes in and says, "Oh, I'm going to agree with Steve." This is a group where it comes in and says, "Hey, I'm going to find every nuance I can find to fuck with Steve and show that he's wrong." That's the mentality people have, which is fine because that has made my arguments better.
No, Steve, this is a community where everybody comes in to agree with you.
I have learned to shore up my arguments because people have poked holes in them. That's kind of what they're supposed to do.
I am here to mock you and make you run away in tears.
Yeah.
I got to read out to you guys what he posted. This is his quote. This is his exact quote. I did not cower out. There is simply nothing to discuss. You were a bunch of philosophers, and I don't care for that. You want atheism to take the position that God doesn't exist so that you have something to argue. We've been through that, and what else is there to say? You think that people's ideas are worth discussing, even if there is no justification of any kind. I'm not interested in that nonsense.
Yeah, I did read that one. That was the other day, though. There's so many things wrong with that. I just don't even know where to begin. Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
It's just flawed from start to finish. Right? There's first of all, we don't want him to accept any particular position or definition. I don't give a shit at this point. Right? Let him. But all I say is, look, if you accept a definition, take the baggage that goes along with it. But he says there's nothing to discuss, yet he's like, you won't answer a question. Here I am. I'm live. I don't know how many people watching. I can't see right now. I'm guessing probably it's usually between 50 and 100. So because of the buffering, I'm going to say there's 50 people watching, but I honestly don't know. It could be 5. Who knows? But I'm willing to engage and say, okay, I know my positions. I'm happy if you can come in and have a conversation. Clear that he cannot. I was told him, look, you're going to be kind of embarrassed because I've been through this whole song and dance many times. By now, I think whether they agree with me or not, I think everybody in the GDC at least knows generally my position. They don't have to agree with me, but they know my position. Yeah. I know your guys' position on a lot of things. I may not agree with you, but I'm never going to say, hey, Barney is a Roman Catholic. That's not his position. I know enough to know that's not his position. So.
Well, I was.
You were.
Maybe I'm cladistically still a Roman.
You're cladistically still. Yeah, you know what? Maybe we should start that. Religious cladistics. Yeah. No, actually, there is something like that. Somebody actually did a phylogenetic chart of all the religions in the world. It's intricate. It is amazing. I mean, it looks more complicated than the Tree of Life project. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, but then if you were to do that, then you actually could have one species give birth to another.
G-Man would be proven correct. If dogs could have non-dogs, right?
Wait,
so anyways,
Steve,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, finish it up.
Well, no, I just wanted to ask you if you could post that. You just said that that tree of all religions.
If I find it later or not, I'll post it in the GDC.
Yeah, that's good.
It's brilliant. It just you have no idea how many denominations there are out there and how one came from another. It breaks it down so amazingly. Like, okay, here's this branch that came off, and from that branch was these branches, from that branch was these branches. But all right, well, anyways, like I said, I'm going to be ending that. I want to thank everybody who watched. I want to thank everybody who's been